I'm Alex, and this is my one Corolla. I'm Alex, I'm 25 years old. I got into cars through my grandpa. He was into old muscle cars and everything, so I grew up around all of his muscle cars. And my dad was into Japanese bikes, so literally since the age of 4, he had me racing dirt bikes, and I leaned a little bit more towards the car side of things, but I joined both of them. So I had the Japanese side and the car side, and then I got into Japanese cars, and that's kind of how it all happened. Specifically, I'm more into old Toyotas. Not sure why, it's just kind of what I fell into. Actually, the old video game Grid Motorsport. One of my favorite cars drifting down the Togue on that video game was the old 86 Coupe, for no reason. I just like that car. And I think that was the beginning of my love for Corollas. So I had been looking for an 86 for quite some time. Just looking over the market, getting prepared for it. I really wanted to buy one, so I was focusing on it. I really wanted an F20C Swapped 86. And there was a guy in the cities. He had posted this car because he was moving to Japan and he wanted to sell it. I think his original asking price was around $12,000, but nobody wanted to buy it, or something. I don't know. Nobody bought the car for quite some time. So a few months go by, and it was kind of the idea had passed. I wasn't going to be able to get the car, so I was going to go down and I had some money, and I was going to go buy a supercharged MR2. And that same day, we were just getting ready to head out and go buy this MR2. The owner of this car messaged me back and he said, nobody's willing to buy it. If you bring me $8,500, you can buy it. I told him give me a week, and within that week, I had gathered the money, thanks to a lot of really good friends, and went down there and picked this up. And it was the hottest day of the summer, just hot and muggy. Pants were sticking to my legs. It was kind of a brutal day. It was a shitty day. But buying the car, it was the first drive, the first time I ever drove it. It was more than I had expected. So all of the YouTube videos and everything, getting prepared for buying my dream car. Before being able to drive it, you have this expectation in your head. Like sometimes it can be unrealistic. Well, it was the opposite. My expectation it blew me out of the water. I couldn't believe what this car was doing for me. The sounds, the speed, it was awesome. It was a super cool car. And then my MR2 started to just, stay in the parking lot, and I kept driving this thing. When I bought the car, it was a genuine GTS AE86 hatch, rust-free, unknown miles, but I'm not too worried about that. It has a Cause two-way differential, custom drive shaft to mate to the AP2 transmission. It's got stance 2 coilovers in the front, and I'm not really sure what's in the rear. It's some sort of mystery. It is sprung incredibly stiff. It's actually the stiffest car I've ever driven. It's brutal. The interior is fully stripped. It's got the S2000 gauge cluster, which is pretty cool. I would like to convert to an analog cluster at a point in time, just because I like that look. I kind of want to bring more 80s out of it instead of having a digital cluster. The work that I've done to it has been majority maintenance, just keeping it together. We're doing a little bit more work to it this winter, because last year was my first year drifting, kind of getting into the whole drift thing. So now that I have a winter with a car that I'm going to dedicate as a drift car, I have a little bit more plans for it, for converting it into a full-blown drift car and taking it further away from being a street car. So we also added some angle to the car, but it's not like your standard angle kit on a 240 or a BMW. It's pretty basic. We added Techno-Toy tuning rack spacers, which just space out your tie rods a little bit, your inner tie rods. And then we extended the lower control arm an inch, thanks to Ryan Bridge at Bridges Customs. That guy helped me out a ton, taught me a lot. So with spacing everything out, we needed longer inner tie rods. So we searched the forums. A lot of the 86 forums are really resourceful. And we ended up getting SC300 inner tie rods to make everything, make the geometry work. I'm not exactly sure how much extra angle that gave me, but it was enough. It was a huge difference. I've been drifting the majority of the year with the same amount of angle, which was stock at the time. And then the last drift event, we added this little bit of angle, and it was a completely different car, different game. we went through the entirety of the suspension and readjusted everything. We got everything squared away. We were at Bridges Customs and we put a lot of time into the car to dial it in. And the first drift event, and the only drift event with this car, with it dialed in proper, with a little bit more angle, was completely different. And I'm just stoked for the next year. This next coming year is going to be awesome. So I got a body kit this winter, and we just recently got that installed. Thank you, Joshua Lemke. And yeah, so we got the whole body kit on it. The next thing is paint. We're gonna go to Finish Factory with Brownie, and the plan is, I think we're gonna paint it black, but it's kind of still in the air. You know, looking at a lot of pictures on Google, talking to a lot of guys in the forums, kind of figuring out what kind of color I want to put on the car, because I don't want to keep switching colors. You know, I kind of want to do a one and done thing. Yeah, we'll see how that goes though. I'd like the car to be black. That's kind of been the vision in my head since before I owned it. I always wanted a black 86 because I have a black MR2. They got the same wheels. I just think it'd be cool to have matching 80s Toyotas in a weird way. I don't know. Another thing that I plan to do is go through the transmission. I have an issue with my shifter where the cup that holds the bushing is really loose. So to fix that issue, I got another transmission thanks to Nick Vandy. He blew up his transmission in his S2000 and sold it to me for a good price and a 6-pack of beer. Thanks, Nick. And so I'm going to disassemble that extra transmission, or that spare transmission, and we're going to put that, it's a shifter rod, and I need the end of that rod into this transmission. So we got to pull the transmission and pull both of them apart completely to get to the shifter rod, which will be a task. In the distant future, maybe, I'm not sure yet. I still have a lot to learn as far as drifting the car and overall car control. In the distant future, I would like to think about adding some power, whether that be a turbo kit or the centrifugal supercharger kit. You know, I'm not sure yet. I have a lot of research to do in that regard. But this is a stock F20C, stock ECU, everything. So it makes 240 horsepower at, you know, revs to 9,200 RPM. That's a lot of power for a car that weighs roughly 2,100 pounds. So, you know, looking for more power isn't a necessity by any means, but in the future, if I get good, you know, if I'm comfortable driving the car completely, I can throw a little extra power at it and potentially bring more of a show to every event that I go to, you know. But another modification that we're looking at, I'm going to run a independent hydro e-brake. I haven't ever drifted in my life with a handbrake yet, so we're going to add a handbrake this year just as another tool to try and place the car where I want to be able to place it. And just, yeah, overall, this is my drift car. This is now going to be this is going to be my dedicated drift car. So I'll start looking more into adding these modifications that take it away from being a street car, just to make it more dedicated. Again, I'm Alex, and this is one of my cars. This is just my 86. I have a couple others, but if you have any questions, leave them below.